Hi Gemini, welcome to your October 2019 General Tarot reading. It's Raina here. So in October, the Sun is in Libra for most of the month, and for you, that is the 5th house of romance. So when we enter the month of October, you have just had a new moon in that sector. And so that's really cool. And Mars has been there, Venus, and both will be going into Scorpio, and that's going to be your 6th house, and that's I've already done the general tarot readings for October, so you can check that out. And also I'm doing astrology. That's more of the astrology thing. So I'm going to just, I just wanted to let you know about that, because that could affect your love life, who knows. This is the Wild Unknown Tarot deck. This reading is intended for people who are single, as well as people who are in relationships who are thinking of leaving that relationship because it is very, you know, toxic or what have you. It's not meant for people who are in happy relationships, because why? Then there's no problem. You're in a happy relationship, right? So the heart of the matter is the Hierophant. The Hierophant connects to the sign of Taurus. I always think Sagittarius. I have to get in that little commentary. But the Hierophant is connected to, I don't know if I'd say spirituality, but definitely religion. It's connected to, so we could just say in general, the spiritual side of life. But if you are clashing with your partner on religion, or if you've met somebody recently and they are of a different religion and you're like, I don't know if this is going to work, especially if one of you is in a religion that's very kind of fundamentalist, which means that they have very ironclad beliefs. They take things literally from their scriptures, whatever their holy books are, and those are like very definite guidelines. You may be wondering if that's going to work, but this is also a card of marriage, okay? For Gemini, of course Gemini people get married like anybody else, but you might be a little bit less enthusiastic about it. Well, maybe there are some. If you have inner planets in Cancer, you might, or Taurus, you might feel like, oh, I love the idea of getting married. But I think that the classic Gemini response is wanting, you know, maybe one foot out the door, you know, because Gemini is mercurial. It means changeable. Maybe one day you want one thing and the next day you want the next, and you don't want to have to sign on the dotted line and you know, I know how you feel. I'm the opposite sign, Sagittarius, so I'm not dissing anybody for that. I totally get it. And you can love somebody very deeply but still be a little bit hesitant, and maybe they're pressuring you to get married and you don't want to. Or you are single and you want to get married. You're one of those Geminis that wants to get married. In the past position, we have the Mother of Pentacles, which is the Queen of Pentacles. And this could be, I'm even thinking of like a single mother. Actually, you know, this card is about, like, I would say almost like the stay-at-home mother more than anything, who has, you know, who's kind of the homemaker type of individual. If that is something that has been a dream of yours, where you have wanted to get married, if you're a woman, or you know, I guess it could be a man who wants to raise his children. I have seen stay-at-home dads, and they are really, you know, all it really is about is who is a nurturer, who is a, you know, a natural nurturer. It's funny, nature nurture. that kind of person, and you don't really, in some cases, you might not even be that ambitious career-wise, but you've always wanted to raise a family, let's say, and tend to your home and have a garden and cook and do all those domestic things. And so if you're that kind of a person, maybe kind of an old-fashioned type of man or woman who wants to experience that, perhaps you're finding, I don't know if you've been finding it difficult to meet such an individual that agrees with those kinds of values, or whatever you want to call them, or just, those ideas, let's say that. You may feel like it's hard to find somebody like this. The Hierophant is, or maybe you're somebody who has wanted to get married to the father of your child, and that has been hard to accomplish because for whatever reason maybe they have a fear of commitment. The higher message is the Judgment card, and this is a card of cause and effect. Now, an example would be, let's say that you got pregnant to somebody you had never talked about necessarily even being a couple committed in a committed partnership. Maybe it was a very casual relationship, and you ended up bringing a child into the world, and all of a sudden your maternal instincts kicked in, and you want to do things the traditional way, and the other party doesn't want to. The Judgment card is like saying there's cause and effect in the universe. There's what you reap, what you sow. If you don't put intention into something, you can't necessarily have a do-over. Sometimes it doesn't work that way. So if you're in that kind of a pattern with somebody, understand what you're really working with. And don't feel like you have to have a certain outcome, because it may be for the best, believe it or not. You may not see it in this moment, but perhaps you're not meant to be with this person forever. If you're somebody who is looking to have this type of relationship, exercise good judgment. Go to places, meet people in places that are not just places where people are partying, like a bar or somebody's party. Go to places, if you're a Gemini, you tend to be a very intelligent person. Go to a lecture, go to, some place where you're exercising your mind. You might meet somebody who you're really on the same wavelength with. And it's not the typical place that you would expect to meet your soulmate, okay? But you have to have that foresight, that good judgment, that, does things methodically, not kind of haphazard and expecting it to work out. What crosses you is the Three of Cups. Now this is interesting because I almost associate this with Gemini. And what this is a card of hanging out with friends and socializing. Sometimes it can be a card of maybe partying too much. And maybe if you have that's what I had just said, where do you try to meet people? But this can also be like, running with the wrong crowd, running with people who are like partying a lot, and they're not serious in life. They don't have a vision for their life. And it doesn't have to be like 20-year-olds. It could be 30-year-olds who are like this too. It's not just kids. Although if you're 20 years old, you might say, I'm not a kid. You are to me. So there's like a frivolity. The Three of Cups, I like that card because I think that we need more of that. We need to just let our hair down. We can't just be too serious in life, take life too seriously. But some people are always out. They're too into the social life, and they can never really settle down into any kind of one-on-one relationship because they just want to hang out with a bunch of people. And that can lead to scattering your forces and not really tuning into a person one-on-one. And there might be a part of you that likes that kind of group dynamic where you're just all, you know, telling jokes and knocking back beers and just having a good time. But at some point you have to dig deeper with relationships, and I think that's part of settling down as well. What's coming in is the Ten of Wands. Sometimes this can be advice. I would say if it's advice, look at times where you are also, this is another thing to observe besides judgment. Do you have a tendency to take the responsibility in relationships? Do everything in the relationship. Those, sometimes we would call those codependency tendencies, but this is like something that you can pretty well determine early on. So we call those red flags about whether or not somebody is really into you as much as you're into them. And you have to be perceptive, and it's not something that comes from how people even, what they say and how they act. It's even deeper than that, because sometimes people can talk a good game but they don't really produce it. So if you start to date somebody and if you meet somebody, think about this. Are they if you exchange numbers, are you the one that calls them, and do they not return your calls? Or, I mean, does the only time that you talk to them is when you make the initial call, and you always have to do that? And then if you find that you have to do that more than once, then you just say, okay, I don't think that this person is as interested in me as I'm interested in them, and you just let it go. And I think that you're good at being detached in that sense and looking at it from a logical perspective instead of saying, oh, this is just proof, you know, I can't find, you know, nobody's into me. No, you just have to meet the right person. Also, this can mean that you're going to have a lot of work. You're going to be working really hard. Maybe you're not going to be able to date in the near future. I just got kind of a similar theme for Leo, actually. And the outcome is the Mother of Wands, which is the Queen of Wands. Yes, I mean, this is a card of the, especially for a woman. Interestingly, I get the Mother of Wands, but first I got the Mother of Pentacles. Maybe this means now it's time to be the career woman, and eventually you can have that, if you want to be a stay-at-home mother, that can come at some point. The Queen of Wands can also be an attitude that you're adopting, which is very positive and confident, and maybe even in some cases that you initiate, if you're a woman and you're interested in men, that you initiate a meeting with somebody. Maybe the Ten of Wands is a fire sign, and come to think of it, if you have been involved with a Pisces, perhaps that's not the right one. But the fire sign, Aries, Sag, or Leo, that comes into your life with the Ten of Wands. Okay. You know what? Maybe it is, if we reduce 10 to 1, it would probably be an Aries, wouldn't it? But I don't know if you can do that. But I just did. I just invented something. Well, I'm not sure. But anyway, I hope that you enjoyed this, Gemini. If you'd like a private reading, the link is below. Take care. Bye.